Thanks, Dr. Joseph Martin again. Knowing and belief. What's the difference? Knowing and belief. Well, let's start with belief because it's the lower vibrational consciousness, and knowing is a higher consciousness that we can evolve into. Belief is a conjecture or a premise in the philosophical study of what we call epistemology, which is the study of knowledge or how we can know anything at all. So, belief is simply what we call a mental representation of an idea that you hold to be true. The mental representation around belief is not just a mental representation of, let's say, a table. I see a table, I feel a table, I see a book, I feel a book. But belief is a little tied to something a little more philosophical in the sense that you believe the world is flat, so you don't sail your ships too far from the coastline. Well, okay, that's an idea about something you haven't seen, but you have a belief that, however sincere, it can be definitely obviously false. And in the history of philosophy and the history of human evolution, we've seen that science in particular, but philosophy as well, has gone through a series of stages where the mental representation, both of individuals and collectives, has started at one point and then slowly, through increasing knowledge, has moved to something beyond. For instance, now we know the world isn't flat, it's round or spherical. And we know that the Earth is not the center of our solar system. It's actually the sun that's the center of our solar system. It took many centuries for people to understand that, at least in the Western world. In other cultures, there may have been an earlier kind of knowing of this. Belief is a very important thing because, however sincere you might be about your belief, you could be wrong. How do we get to belief? Belief happens for individuals in terms of their present incarnation is exactly the same belief system that they had when they were in their previous lives. We simply bring it forward. When you sleep for the evening and wake up the next morning, you still hold the same beliefs. When you die in the physical and wake up in your next reincarnation, you're still going to hold the same beliefs. It is the same thing. Now, however, beliefs can be inculcated from external circumstances and institutions and people through socialization. It will start with your family. For instance, if your family's Catholic, you're probably going to be Catholic until you know, that's the higher consciousness, that you may want to choose something different. And if your family is Hindu, you may end up having the Hindu belief, and so on and so on and so on. Institutions like churches, mosques, synagogues, and schools, and justice courts, or injustice courts as we often might experience, also have this way of socializing you. Perhaps you could even call it brainwashing, to fit into the society, to agree with the belief system. And if you disagree with the belief system, I'm speaking more on a religious level of ethics and religion, then you can be put in jail or you can actually be hung. As we know, in certain cases in Iran, the Baha'is and other Sufis were hung from the posts in Tehran and so on, even in recent times. So this is the power of belief. However sincere someone holds a belief, even as a suicide bomber, it may not actually be true. That is exactly why it's absolutely critical, in the most extreme and important sense of critical, before we all go flatline, to understand that we need to evolve our beliefs to a higher consciousness, which is knowing, where you start to realize some sense of knowing inside yourself that is not only a mental, studied, logical, scientific knowing, but it's an emotional and psychological knowing. It's an intuitional knowing, both the intuition that is outside the body can just understand something instantly and gestalt it, as we say, and also your gut, your visceral, intuitional, kinesthetic knowing. These are all aspects will tell you what you know to be true about yourself, certainly true about your own personal feelings. And you can speak from that place, which is the most important thing to do. When you know what you feel, you can speak your truth honestly and with deep humility and respect. Now, in Advaita Vedanta in the Hindu tradition, which is certainly global and worldwide and something definitely worth looking into for ourselves, there is this ancient knowing tradition, but they have a saying which is the knower, the knowing, and the known are all one. When you get to the higher supreme consciousness, the Nirvikalpi Samadhi, as we say in the yoga tradition of I Am Yoga, then you know that the knower of the universe becomes yourself. You identify, and your consciousness through yoga and deep meditation is supremely connected and unified with the divine consciousness, the super consciousness of the cosmic consciousness and the Christ consciousness, so that you are the knower of the Creator, Him, herself. And the knowing that comes through when you're in that higher state of awareness, which actually can be understood not only in terms of mental states, but in terms of brain waves. It's a very deep, slow, healing, unified brain wave state, theta and delta states. And the knowing and the known become one as well. It's kind of, it sounds like a paradox, but it's the three in one. And this is the basis of all mystical traditions as you'll study them. I could tell you what some of them are, but that will be for another time in our I Am Self-Worth coaching program. The three become one. And that's actually a key mathematically in sacred geometry, not only for your internal body, but for all energy channels and calms in any kind of aspect of life that we're looking at. Knower, knowing, known as one. Well, I'd like to suggest then that you really delve deeply into this for yourselves to garner and gain the higher evolutionary consciousness that will allow you to experience this. All aspects of duality at this time need to resolve themselves in consciousness for humans on the planet, so that we're not fighting back and forth between nations, between religions, between sexes and genders, between sexual orientations, between age groups, between classes, and between castes. That will be our destruction unless we turn it all around and switch it up. So that's where beliefs are. They're always dyadic and dualic, and they're always going to be oppositions and someone else to kill or murder or judge. Well, that isn't the way it's going to be as we move forward with this new global consciousness, which is now emerging. A quantum leap is what's required. You move out of belief into a knowing, which is definitely in the heart, then that's an absolutely big quantum leap for you. That knowing will unify you, and you'll wake up one morning and go like, you know what? We're all sisters and brothers. Doesn't matter their hair color, their eye color, their nose shape, their eyes, their shape, or anything at all, their size, their weight. It doesn't matter. We're all just one family here. We're one species. We're actually just one human body. We're all just cells in that earthly human body. How exciting, how heartwarming, how respectful, how non-judgmental. This is what it will take, and we are getting there now. Each individual needs to do it for themselves, and when we do, and we reach a tipping point of consciousness when enough of us, maybe even just 4% of us, of the 7 billion plus on the planet, it will make the change, and overnight we'll have this quantum leap of consciousness, and we'll be in a new, living, harmonious, balanced, peaceful state. All love, light, joy, peace, direction, guidance, as you know the knowing inside your own heart and feel the love inside for all human beings as one. All our relations, all my relations, Mitakuyo Yasin. It's gotta go. The peace is great.